Terry, welcome to the show this morning.
Well, good morning. Well, one of those things that we just got to go ahead and talk about this morning, this week. Actually, I guess what the Mac, the malware. Yes, I was going to talk about that. So let me just get it off the top here first. Don't download stuff from an untrusted website. Now, unfortunately, these days, those download.com and all these other popular places to download stuff is not a trusted place anymore. So please be careful when you're doing that, because this stuff doesn't happen. So what I'm talking about is that there was a piece of malware, not necessarily a virus, because a virus is a different thing. A virus is a malware, a piece of malware, but in general, when we speak malware, that's not necessarily a virus. It's just a piece of malware is just some piece of software that does something that you don't want it to and can do damage. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they are nefarious, and sometimes they're just sitting there waiting, actually.
And I can't help but notice the headline on your laptop there. Malware discovered in China could herald new era of iOS and Mac threats. So again, we're seeing a threat from China. This seems to happen with great regularity now. What is? I mean, is this a form of industrial terrorism? I mean, what is it exactly? What are they trying to do to us?
Well, of course, I'm not in the intelligence field, so I'm not real sure. But it certainly wouldn't surprise me if there is a coordinated effort and supported by the government of China. But it could be, but it doesn't matter in a sense that whether it's that or just a group of hackers that want to do this. But whatever the case is, it's a little scary out there, and I understand everybody's reluctance to put stuff on the internet and all of that, and that's, of course, part of my job is to help educate customers on things. But in this case, and they're talking about new era. Well, every time something on the Mac comes up like this or on the Apple devices, they have to inflate that headline a little bit in order to make sure they get the attention. But it doesn't mean it shouldn't be taken seriously, and it should be.
And I'm not a Mac user myself, but I know in talking to you and other people, I know enough about it now to understand that they, probably more than any other software/hardware developer, manufacturer, whatever out there, probably work harder to prevent this stuff than anyone else. And they've been somewhat insulated over the years from this, I guess. Maybe that's based partly on the fact that there's just a whole lot more or there have been traditionally more PCs on the market than there have been Macs. But these things are starting to eke their way in. Now, if you download something from the Apple Store, for example, those programs and that software has been tested, it's been checked, it's been approved. It's gone through a filtering process to make sure there's nothing nefarious going on there. It's these third-party sites that Apple has no control over. That's where the problem's coming from, right?
Right, and this stuff just doesn't jump on your computer on its own. You have to go get it, you have to install it, and then you have to provide your administrator password on a Mac. And so, but especially in this case, Apple's already killed it. Now, you do have to do the next security update. So they essentially have a malware detector capability in the software. They've been known on a security update to actually disable like Flash and Java when they find a pretty serious flaw. So, we're talking about something that's a legitimate program written by a third party. Now, Apple actually doesn't have the Java installer on their own website. You can't go to the App Store and download it for free or anything. You have to go to java.com, or if you want to go to Flash and to Adobe and get the Flash player, it's a third party. But sometimes they've got some really dangerous stuff going on in there. Not malware necessarily, but a vulnerability that Apple wants to close down.
Like, for example, there are some programs you're going to have Java for. Some programs you're going to have Adobe Flash for. So you still have to go get it, but there is a risk involved in doing it.
Right. The main thing is, Adobe and I can't remember the company that's keeps Java going now. But in any case, the developers keep up on that stuff. But Apple, of course, keeps up on it. And then when they see a security flaw that's serious enough, they'll go ahead on an update that you do on your computer. So they'll disable it for you. And then because we get a lot of those questions, Flash wasn't it's no longer working, and so we go through and install it for them.
So if you suspect you've been hit by this, step number one, what do you do?
Well, I think I'd call us, and then we'll help you through that, because it's something that not just your average user is going to be able to do, but and then just be yeah. So or you can call Apple. I guess Apple support probably help if you have an Apple Care plan or something like that.
Well, that's the beauty of having MacTech here, is you've got a local Mac dealer that you can work with that can help you out and not only sell you product but service it after the fact. And again, that goes back to the whole argument about shopping local, doing business local. When they buy something, a Mac product from a big box store, you're not going to get that service, especially if you run into an issue like this. You're not going to get service one-on-one necessarily the way you would if they're doing business with someone like yourself. I mean, there's a certain disconnect with the large, big corporate stores that they just, by virtue of how they operate, they can't do some of the things you guys can do, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right. If you're going to rely on them as your IT place, then they're going to fall short in a lot of areas. But I want to establish a relationship, and if we mess up, tell us, and I want to come back and do something right about it. The guys at Best Buy are great. I mean, we get a lot of referrals from them, so I don't want to, say that they're just totally useless. But but we're local. We understand business. We got a lot of experience and things like that. So you just have to judge for yourself who's going to do a better job for you.
MacTech Solutions is here in Parker Square. You're located between Ganache and Holder's Jewelers. Really easy to find. And you're open Monday through Saturday. And tell people what your hours are and how to get in touch with you, how to reach you.
Well, of course, 10 to 6 Monday through Friday and 10 to 4 on Saturday. MacTech-Solutions.com is our website. And then you can go to MacTech Solutions Apple Specialist to work for Facebook. And then you can call us, of course, on the old landline there, 767-6227.
Terry McAdams, thank you very much. We appreciate you dropping in on us today. 7:29 right now, just exactly.